Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, and thank you so much for joining us at the Center for Teaching Excellence for this webinar on creating a community of learners. Connect, empower, engage. I'm Jennifer Yowell, and with me today is Aisha Haynes, and we will be facilitating this session. I'm an instructional designer with the Center for Teaching Excellence, and Aisha Haynes is the Assistant Director for the Center at the Columbia campus. So in today's session, we will focus on a topic that is very relevant. Whether you're teaching face-to-face, online, blended, or in a hybrid classroom environment, creating a community of learners is very important. We're going to start off today by outlining social learning theory. Then we'll define the term community of learners. We will highlight several areas where you can begin to develop and create a community of learners in your class. We're going to identify some benefits and reasons why building a community of learners in your classroom is important, and finish by providing you with 5 takeaways to help create that community of learners in your classroom. When you think of learning, how do you see it happening? If you're like most people, they envision students sitting in a classroom, listening to a lecture, or completing a test. Activities are usually designed for individual students. There's nothing wrong with this way of teaching and learning. It's been around for many years and will continue. However, students are no longer empty vessels that need to be filled up with massive amounts of educational information very quickly. They have the internet with information at their fingertips 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they often come to the class with lots of prior knowledge. They are social by nature and want to discuss their experiences with fellow classmates. There's been many studies outlining the benefits of student learning through more social activities and social environments. This has led to many educators to adopt and utilize new learning theories, and one we will touch on today is social learning theory. I will not go into too much detail about social learning theory, but the main point is that it considers how the environment and the social factors interact to influence learning. It emphasizes the importance of students observing, modeling behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others to assist with learning. From within social learning theory came the idea of developing a community of learners, specifically communities of learners that are immersed in social collaborating and learning environments. So when I say community of learners, what comes to your mind? Yes, absolutely. Group work. Yes, definitely. Yes, discussions. Absolutely. Students learning from each other. Yeah, engaged students. Absolutely. Committed to learning. Definitely. Group of people with common beliefs and views. Exchange, absolutely. And oh, that's very interesting. Game-based learning, absolutely. Interaction, yes. So the words belonging, active, interdependence, group, partnership, common interest, focus, motivation. Absolutely. Every single thing that you all were saying in the chat is 100% correct. So there's a lot of definitions of a community of learners, and you're welcome to find one that encompasses all thoughts and feelings. But I think this one is very good. It comes from 2013, Oscar Lenning, Denise Hill, Kevin Saunders, Alicia Sloan, and Andrea Stokes, and they define it as intentionally developed community that exists to promote and maximize the individual and shared learning of its members. There is ongoing interaction, interplay, and collaboration among the community's members as they strive for specified common learning goals. I really like this definition because it includes interaction, shared learning, and collaboration. And one of the common threads that ties all these terms together is that focus on socialization. And now that you have formulated your own ideas in the chat and heard the definition of a community of learners, where do you begin from here? So building a community of learners in your classroom is intentional. and requires you to plan your strategy in advance. Whether your class is face-to-face, online, blended, or hybrid, students want to connect with you and to their fellow classmates. Keep this in mind. We will focus on three strategic areas, including social, physical, and psychological. Social offer opportunities to make connections, including building a rapport and getting to know your students, students getting to know fellow students, identifying similarities and discovering differences with a focus on common interests, recognizing diversity, expecting a growth mindset, reduce anonymity. One method of reducing anonymity is learning students' names and helping students learn each other's names, giving students the opportunity to represent themselves in a variety of ways, and involve all students in discussions. Try to create an atmosphere that values your students' contributions, enhances the learning experience. Consider how your students learn best. Try to have your courses scheduled maybe in rooms with movable chairs, desks, or tables, allowing flexibility in arrangements for group activities. Subdivide large classes into smaller groups. Use assessments or diagnostic testing to determine students' background in course topics. And invite more experienced students to be able to offer advice and support to less experienced students. Be enthusiastic and passionate about the content. Build trust. Model empathy, kindness, and compassion. Welcome mistakes as part of the learning process. Expect a growth mindset. Be consciously inclusive. Ask yourself, who is being left out as a result of this teaching approach? Celebrate community. A gallery of achievement. Maybe post online in a Padlet or discussion forum. And now I'll turn it over to Aisha to talk about the types of interactions within the class.
Good morning. Within the social, physical, and psychological focus areas, there are three types of interactions that should be planned for, and they include student to instructor, student to student, and student to content and interactions. And I'll talk more in depth about each area now. The first interaction is student to instructor. There are several strategies for student to instructor interactions that help build community. Those strategies include including a welcome message for students through Blackboard. This can be done by using the announcements feature. When we create an announcement, we can also send the announcement as an email. And this is helpful no matter our course delivery method, whether it's face-to-face, blended, or online. We can consider having students introduce themselves. If you have a large face-to-face course, this may be difficult to do in person, but you can consider using the Blackboard discussion board feature for student introductions, even if you teach a face-to-face course, whether that course is large or whether that course is small. Of course, the strategy can be used in an online class. If your course is small, you can consider responding to each introduction. And if your course is large, then you can summarize the introductions and discuss common information or differences. Consider including a frequently asked questions section of Blackboard where students can ask course-related questions. Our response to one student can be seen by other students and can assist us with not having to answer the same question more than one time. As many of you know, Blackboard has a built-in web conferencing tool called Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. If you teach an asynchronous online course where there is no meeting time, you can use Blackboard Collaborate to welcome students to the course and start the semester off with a real-time interactive component. Having office hours is very important. If you teach face-to-face, you can have face-to-face or virtual office hours. And if you teach online, you can have virtual office hours by using Blackboard Collaborate. You'll want to provide regular and timely feedback to your students. Letting students know in advance in your syllabus or other communication channels how long it will take you to provide feedback to them is very important. So this can be 3 days, this can be 1 week, or it can be whatever time frame works best for you. We can consider interacting with students as they work on course assignments in class. In a face-to-face class, we can walk around the room, we can check on our students, we can ask them if they need assistance and answer questions. And we can also interact with students in a virtual environment. The second interaction is student to student. Several strategies for student-to-student interactions that help build community include providing opportunities for student introductions. Students can introduce themselves in small groups and report the information about others to the entire class. Consider having questions that students ask other students to get to know each other better. How about facilitating icebreaker activities? And a few icebreaker activities include two truths and a lie, where students tell two unique characteristics about themselves that are true and one that is a lie. From that, the class can guess the lie, and this can be done in an online course as well, and a blog or a discussion board. Have you heard of the Snowball Activity, where students write 3 things about themselves on a piece of paper? They crumble up that paper to resemble a snowball and then have a snowball fight. Each person grabs a snowball and finds the person who wrote it. Once the person who wrote the information on the paper is found, they bring the person to the front of the room, introduce them, and explain what they learned about the person after reading the information on the paper. What we can also do is have encouraging reflective discussions. This allows students to think and talk about course topics. How about a think, pair, share activity where students can think about a topic, pair up with someone else to discuss the topic, and then one person from the pair shares the information discussed with the class? How about us planning group activities, class debate sessions, and providing opportunities for interactive peer feedback? Think about how these activities can help build community in your course. The third interaction is student to content. There are several strategies for student to content interactions that can help build community, including interactive lectures with student polling and feedback discussions. If you teach synchronously online, you can use the polling feature that is built into Blackboard Collaborate. If you teach in person, how about using the game-based tool called Kahoot or iClickers, Poll Everywhere, Google Forms, or even an online whiteboarding tool called Padlet? Of course, no matter your delivery method, you can include course content in Blackboard for students to access, or provide the course content in class, or even both. If you teach online, how about creating short video or audio introductions for each module? In whatever content that we provide to our students, we want to include accessible content for students with and without disabilities. This includes captioning videos and having transcripts for our audio files. If you teach online, the Office of Distributed Learning can caption videos for you. We also want to create accessible documents and presentations if they are posted online. And if you have questions about making documents accessible, then let us know. So in the chat, I would like for you to answer the following question. What interactions will you, can you include in your course to help create a community of learners? Create short announcement videos. That's awesome. Think, Pair, Share, group activities, Village of 100. I've never heard of that, but certainly something that I will look into. We have the discussion prompts, debates, simulations, feedback, peer-to-peer, and instructor to students, also including audio presentations to introduce each module in an online course. All of these are wonderful ideas, and I hope you all are taking note of what your colleagues are doing to create that community of learners. These are great ideas. I'll now talk about several benefits for creating a community of learners. Students feeling connected to others and the instructor. An increase in student motivation. Students strengthening relationships with each other. It helps to build trust between students and the instructor, and it can create a more inclusive learning environment. And there's more. Students feeling included in the course. Students learning from the perspective of others from different backgrounds. It increases students' sense of belonging. It can deepen student learning and increase the critical thinking skills of our students. And the list continues. So I've listed some benefits here. What other benefits do you all see for creating a community of learners? What other benefits can you all think of that I've missed? Feel free to add that information to the chat. I like that. Improving socialization skills. Yes, students begin to feel more comfortable to contribute to class discussions. Student-centered instead of teacher-centered learning environment. Helping out with mental health and well-being, retention, progression, and graduation. And it can enhance the confidence in our students and have a sense of belonging for the students. All of those are benefits to creating a community of learners. I'll leave you with 5 to wrap things up. Establish your presence in a positive way. Make announcements to help build a strong rapport with students. Urge your students to ask questions. Create those group assignments and ignite discussions. Creating a community of learners is essential in each and every course. So let us connect. Let us empower, and let us engage. What questions do you have for us? All right, as mentioned, I feel like some of the physical aspects of creating a community of learning has become really difficult due to the ongoing pandemic, even for in-person classes, as we have been told to minimize students moving around to keep everyone as safe as possible, but also not all students have access to technology in the classroom. Some take classes in person because of this exact issue. So tech can't really be relied upon all the time, unfortunately. Do you have any suggestions on how to still have that side of building a community of learners for in-person courses, while also specifically being sure to keep everyone safe during the pandemic? Does anyone have an answer? I can share an answer as well, but wanted to give everyone an opportunity to answer that question as well. What have you all done during the COVID era to keep everyone safe, but also to create a community of learners? All right, so Kathleen, I would say to basically do the best that you can with the situation that we are in. Even though students may not have the technologies in the class, there's some things, some activities that can be done in class and some things that can be done online as well. So I would say that there may be some strategies or activities that you could use that even though you're teaching a face-to-face class, can be done online as well by utilizing various instructional technologies like Blackboard and some other tools that are out there. And then Tasha mentioned asking students if they are comfortable with moving around and creating a comfortable space for those that are not comfortable with moving around. I mentioned is maintaining distance and maybe do a poll share so everyone still can interact. And also if students so some students may not have the technologies in the class, but I think that they can still partner up with the student who may have the technology and may be able to share information as a group using the technology. So I know one faculty member this semester has 150 students in class, and she's decided to use Padlet, an online whiteboarding tool, to gather feedback from students. She's used Kahoot a lot to get students to participate as well. And those students can partner up with people who may not have the technology to still participate. And then we have a question. Do you recommend phone apps like GroupMe to create a sense of connection and belonging? I've never used GroupMe, but I have used Slack, and has mentioned that in the chat. I haven't used it in a class setting, but I have used that to create a sense of connection among team members. And mentioned Slack works better than GroupMe and their experience. But there are a variety of free instructional technology tools that can be used to create a sense of belonging. I mentioned some earlier with Kahoot, with Padlet, with Google Forms. There's a online polling tool called Slido that you can easily get anonymous feedback from students. You can ask polling questions through that as well. So there are a variety of different tools out there, instructional technology tools that can be used.
So to point, there was a professor that I was working with that had a smaller class that instead of doing the traditional roll call, he would, ask each student a question about themselves that would kind of get students talking to each other. And they didn't even need to be into groups, but it was still social distance. But they kind of started to open up a little bit more as he would ask them questions, and then they would, of course, get involved with that rather than putting students into groups. Now that does work well with smaller classes, but that is a suggestion maybe.
All right, then there's a question about living and learning communities. I believe there are living and learning communities at the university. I'm not sure if they're for specific degree programs, but I believe there are living and learning communities here at USC. We'd like to thank you all for attending this webinar session and hope that you will attend some additional sessions in the future. And hopefully you all have taken at least one or two ideas to go back and take to your classes to help create those communities of learners.